Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, hello and welcome. My name is Megan. Today's video is honestly probably the most requested and long-awaited video for my channel, all about nutrition. I feel like I get so many questions regarding supplements, tracking, intuitive eating, all that kind of stuff, and a lot of people just asked if I would do a video on nutrition, and I said I would, and I'm sorry for the delay and the wait. I feel like this is just like a very serious video, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like there is kind of a lot of consideration that goes into making a video regarding nutrition, so I wanted to make sure I was prepared, obviously, to talk about my experience, but also to point you guys in the right directions when it comes to your personal journey and experiences. So I'm going to start off with just like some disclaimer stuff, just some stuff that I want to make known before we even get into anything about me, because I think it's very important to do so. So when it comes to nutrition, I just want to say every single person is different. This is the same for fitness as well. Every single person has different needs, different goals, different body types, genetics, values, and so all of that is going to shape how we eat, how we exercise. And I think it's really important to realize that there is no one size fits all. I think it's also important that just because you see somebody doing something does not mean that it is healthy, does not mean that it's something that you should do or have to do to get their physique. There's so much that goes into how people look, and I think a lot of people think that if they just copy paste their favorite influencer, their favorite fitness person, that they're gonna get those same results, and at the end of the day, that's just not necessarily the case. I also think it's really important to be aware of who you follow and really make sure that you trust them and value their opinions, and don't just blindly listen to anybody. Do your own research. I think that is probably the biggest thing that I want to say, is doing your own research is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself, not only from an education standpoint, but also I feel like I got the healthiest relationship with my body, with nutrition, with exercise once I learned. But yeah, my biggest disclaimer and the last thing that I want to say is I'm not a registered dietitian, and I am in no way telling you guys what to do. I am literally just answering your questions about how I do things, and in no way am I saying how I do things is the best way, because I do think out of probably every fitness person on this platform on Instagram, I'm probably one of the more chill ones when it comes to nutrition. I'm not very restrictive, maybe to the point that people don't even view me as like healthy, I don't know, but I am just a big believer in integration of fitness into my lifestyle and not being restrictive or making me unable to be in certain social situations or making me unable to live the life that I want to live. And I think that that is just what works for me, and I don't have necessarily these big goals or physique changes that I'm looking to make to where I need to be super in tune with my nutrition. If you guys are seeking help with your nutrition, if you guys want custom macros, calories, meal plans, etc., please go to a registered dietitian, go to a professional if you're gonna already go and pay to seek that help. Without further ado, we're gonna get into it. I actually wrote down, like, y'all commented stuff on my videos, so I wrote them down so that I could actually just answer them for you guys. There's only 4 questions, but they're like loaded, so I figure this will take honestly a little while, so I'm just gonna get into that. Okay, so the first question was, do you take any supplements such as creatine? Would love to watch a video of you talking about it. So as far as supplements, I honestly kind of fell off the bandwagon of supplements. I feel like when you first enter your fitness journey, supplements are like pushed down your throat. Like, you think I have to take a protein shake every freaking day right after the gym. I have to drink creatine because everybody's saying it's this magic thing that makes you look amazing. I have to be on top of my vitamins, drink my green juice, do all this stuff. Sometimes it's just a lot at once. And I feel like when you're really excited and first in your journey, you think you have to buy all these things to see the results that you're looking to see. But I think it's important to not aimlessly buy supplements, but actually understand what they are, what they do, and if you even need them, because I feel like a lot of the time supplements you don't necessarily need. And I know that might sound kind of funny because I obviously work with a supplement brand. I promote supplements too, but I just try not to shove it down people's throats, because I feel like when it comes to your diet, you can get basically everything, pretty much anything, into the diet. And so supplements are supplemental to the diet. And so while I do think that they're a great thing for people who just need a little bit more, I also don't like to shove it down people's throats and tell them that they need it, because it's not needed and you will be okay without them. But I will run through a quick overview of supplements, and then I think I'll do another updated video all about supplements. But basically, the only supplements that I'm taking right now are, I take the Women's Best Jelly Bean vitamins. I love these. They just, anything that tastes good, I feel like I'll remember to take it every day. So I take the Jelly Bean vitamins, and I take the Immunity vitamin gummies as well. Both of those 10 out of 10 with taste, and also obviously they're just a vitamin, so they're great to supplement into the diet. And then my most used supplement would probably be protein powder. However, I don't even use that every single day. Honestly, I don't love the taste of protein powder straight up. Even if it's the best flavor ever, I just get so tired of it and I just think it's like kind of gross. I don't know how to explain it. So I've been finding like new and creative ways to put protein powder into other things. So I'll put it into my protein oats, or I'll put it into baking things, or I'll put it into yogurt. Like there's just so many ways to incorporate protein powder that don't have to be just like a straight up shake, plug and chug. But I think it's also important that you don't just consume all of your protein from a powder when you can get it within your meals. I think a big goal of mine, which I'll talk about later as well, is protein prioritization in every single meal that you have, and having like a bit of a protein target and being able to get enough protein from food sources so that you don't have to rely too much on protein shakes. And that's kind of where I'm at, where I don't really force protein shakes unless I feel like I really am lacking in protein that day, because I feel like I get a lot of protein sources throughout my day. And then I took creatine for a long time back in the day. I haven't taken it in a while, and truthfully it's honestly just because I forget. I'm very forgetful, and so I can't remember to take it every single day, and I feel like creatine is most effective when you're consistently taking it. But I took it for a long stretch back when I was at my strongest. I was doing PRs almost every single week with my sumo deadlifts with squat, and creatine is just a great ATP source for the muscle. Essentially what creatine does is you take it, and for the physique things that everyone's using to glorify creatine, it obviously helps the appearance of your muscles, and it also helps the endurance of your muscles. So that's like the main reason that I would ever take creatine, is because basically our muscles have phosphocreatine stores which will convert into ATP or energy when we are lifting, and so supplementing creatine increases the phosphocreatine stores, making it more possible for us to have more endurance or energy doing a movement, which then obviously increases our performance output, because the more energy we have, the more we can do, the more we will grow over time. I like to think of creatine, and like kind of how I learned about it in my courses, is creatine is going to help performance, which then is going to help how you look. But it's not just creatine equals how you're gonna look. You still have to do the work with it. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. And then obviously it kind of like gives your muscles more water weight, so it's gonna make them appear a little bit bigger. A lot of people worry about like bloating and stuff. I just feel like when it comes to supplements, you have to make your own decision, have your own experience, and decide from there, and just be mindful that supplements aren't regulated. I do take occasionally pre-workout and the energy drinks from Women's Best. I do really like the energy drinks. They taste really good. And the pre-workout, I used to take pre-workout literally every single day before my workouts, just because it was like the thing to do. And now I'm just like, that was so dumb and so wasteful and unnecessary. And my body almost adjusted to pre-workout to the point where it didn't work anymore because I was just so used to it. So I think now I'm at a place with pre-workout and energy drinks and stuff where it's like, I'll take it if I need it, but I don't take it often or every single day. And I think another important thing is understanding that there is a caffeine upper limit in a day. On days where I know I'm getting Starbucks or coffee or something, I don't take pre-workout too. Be mindful of how much caffeine is in a scoop, and be mindful of what other caffeine you're consuming in a day, and try not to overdo that. Those are basically all the supplements that I would take regularly. And then like I said, I'll make a whole different video on supplements and more about them in depth. But I think when it comes to supplements, a big marker for me is just if I feel like I need it that day, in that moment, I will take it, but I don't rely on it, force it, or think that anyone needs to go out of their way to buy something. The next most literally frequently asked question is whether or not I track calories or macros, and if so, why? Let's talk about it. I do not track anything. I can never say that I've truly tracked anything. I've obviously like given it a try, and it's just not been for me. But I want to preface by saying just because I don't do something doesn't mean that I think that the other thing is bad. I definitely think tracking works so well for people. I think it's an amazing tool for people, especially people in the bodybuilding community and people who have very strict physique goals. I also think for people who have struggled with eating enough, I think tracking can be a great tool for them to realize that they can eat more. But I also think tracking can be something that can lead certain people to get to an obsessive place and not a great place, if that makes sense. So for me personally, like my goals don't revolve around how I look. They really are based on getting to the gym, getting proper exercise, fueling my body properly. Getting strong is honestly like one of my bigger goals. So I think for me personally, I don't have to look too much into my nutrition because I am not strict in that sense, and I'm not dying for a certain physique change to where I feel like I need to be monitoring my diet that much. I also feel like I eat very similar day to day, so I have an idea of how much I'm eating, what I'm eating, and I feel pretty good about my diet, so I don't really feel like I have to track to kind of know if I'm like getting enough. Again, like not saying that it's a bad thing, but I do just feel like I see a ton in promotion of tracking your calories, tracking your macros, saying something is macro friendly, all that kind of stuff. I just want to say that you do not need to track anything to see your goals, to reach your goals, to change your physique. I think there is so much that you can do outside of tracking that is going to make such a big difference for you. And I think a lot of people glorify tracking, and for some people it's just not going to fit in your lifestyle. For example, I think a big thing is remembering that someone like me who had a lot more time on their hands, isn't working full-time 9 to 5 in person, doesn't have like kids or a family to support, things like that. Like I just feel like your lifestyle plays a big role in what you're able to do. And so if you're an on-the-go mom who works a 9 to 5 and then takes her kid to soccer practice, do you have time to measure out every single meal? Probably not, just probably not. And so I think when you tell someone tracking is the best thing that you can do, the only thing you can do to see your results, that's just not true. And it's also just not realistic for the average person. Not every single person can sit and weigh everything that they eat. They can't sit and log everything that they eat realistically. And then also I think doing that can become obsessive for certain people. So for certain people, thinking too much about what you're consuming can make you feel like you need to change something, restrict something, or that something is good v bad. Again, like I said, I think a big thing is nutrition education. I feel like everyone should just take the time to learn about nutrition, learn about what causes you to gain weight, what causes you to lose weight, how to do so, what your RMR is. Learning all this stuff is so important, and I feel like once you learn all of it, it gives you a better sense of, oh, okay, just because I didn't hit my macros today does not mean I'm gonna gain 80 pounds tomorrow or look different tomorrow. I think that's a big thing. It's more about what you do collectively as a whole long term, as opposed to what you're doing in a week's time when you go on vacation. There are different ways that you can go about hitting your goals without being too worried about everything that you're putting into your body and everything that you're doing into the gym. If I were to ever track anything, it would definitely be protein. I feel like that's the one thing that when you're in a muscle building state, or even when you're not, even when you're looking to lose weight, your protein is so important. If you're looking to gain muscle, obviously you need a high amount of protein to help to build it. And if you're looking to lose weight, you need to make sure you're eating more than enough protein to preserve the muscle mass that you have. So protein is something that's so important. I know people hear it all the time, but it really is so important for any of your goals fitness wise. And I think that would be like the main thing that I would track if I were to track anything. This kind of takes me into the next question, which is I'm starting intuitive eating after having quite a negative relationship with tracking, and would love to know if you could film a video on how to reach your protein goals without tracking, or how you know that you are getting enough without tracking. I think this is so important because I think a lot of people think like, oh, if you're not tracking, then you have no idea what you're putting into your body, or you're just being mindless. And that's definitely not true. Like I mentioned earlier, I feel like I eat a lot of the same things overall, and I have an idea of protein content. Just because I don't write and track everything doesn't mean I'm not aware of protein content. So for example, I look at nutrition labels, I look at, you know, serving size, how much protein I'm getting. I aim to get 20 grams of protein per meal minimum, and eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Doing that alone, you're at a baseline of 60 grams protein minimum, and then getting high protein snacks, getting in maybe a protein shake. So kind of knowing like your baseline in a rough estimate, I think is good, because I think it gives you a baseline of I should be eating more, I should be eating less. One of my like top tips is just being able to ballpark protein intake through knowing kind of like what you're eating for each meal. Another thing that I think is good if you're somebody that was tracking in the past and are trying to stop tracking would be if you eat a lot of the same meals, you have probably an idea in your mind already of how much protein was in each meal, or you can look back and see, and then you know like, okay, this meal I know I'm getting at least 35 grams of protein. This meal I know that I was getting at least 20 grams of protein. So then you have an idea that you're still getting enough protein, because again, that is like a major concern for a lot of people, is that they want to be getting enough protein. So that's another tip I have for people, is you could track your diet for a week and just see where you're at. And it doesn't have to be something that you have to do long term, but it can help you to see like, oh, I'm eating enough, I'm not eating enough, I need to maybe have more of this or that. I think that that's a good tool for some people, but again, not for everybody. And then also I feel like a lot of it is just learning to listen to your body, and your body is going to tell you when it's hungry. Trust that and listen to it, feed it. I think it's a really important thing to start to have that relationship with your body where you know what you need, and I feel like no one's going to know what you need more than yourself. So a lot of it is kind of ensuring that you're eating enough. And if you're somebody that struggled with eating enough, I think meal timing can be important, understanding portion sizes, eating more meals in a day with like smaller sizes. Everybody's different, but I would say just a big thing is being mindful with your eating without being obsessive about your eating, or like how much you're eating, etc. And it's okay if some days you don't think about what you're eating, you just eat. That's me like every day. That leads me to my next thing, is being okay with not knowing. I think that's a big thing, and I think that's probably one of the hardest things for someone who used to track and doesn't. But for me, you have to be okay with not hitting your goals every day, with not knowing if you're hitting your goals every day, being okay with just doing what you want to do in a day and not worrying about what you put into your body and how that's gonna affect things. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people stress and they're like, oh my God, I ate so awful today. It's the end of the world. Tomorrow I need to be like the cleanest, healthiest version of myself. And I'm like, one day is not gonna change anything. 1 week is not gonna change anything. You always can turn things around. And I think a big thing when it comes to nutrition is if you deprive yourself of the foods that you enjoy, then you're not really living a balanced lifestyle. And somebody asked how I was able to achieve a positive relationship with food and balance, because that is a big thing for me. I have the biggest sweet tooth in the whole wide world, which is like why I say like maybe don't take my advice, but I eat dessert every single night. It's a non-negotiable for me, whether it's a little piece of chocolate or a friggin' like ice cream sandwich, it doesn't matter. I am not gonna cut something out because it's enjoyable to me. Another thing is alcohol. I feel like people are like, you can't drink if you have strict goals. And I think if you enjoy going out, whatever, you still can do things. It's just like you have to be a little bit more mindful of them. But I think a lot of people treat everything like it's an all or nothing, or treat everything like this is so good and this is so bad. And I just think that's ridiculous. Understand nutrient density, understand that obviously some foods are more macronutrient friendly than others, and understand that it's okay if you don't prefer the one that is more macronutrient friendly. You can eat the freaking Kit Kat. I promise it's gonna be okay. Hopefully I answered everything. Basically, in a nutshell, I do not track and I take supplements as I feel I need them, but I'm not super strict. I think a big thing for me is not being strict. I feel like the more strict I get with myself when it comes to exercise, when it comes to nutrition, the less fun it is for me, the less positive it is for me, the more of a chore it is for me, or the more of a negative relationship I get. So I feel like the more hands-off I am, the better I am. Honestly, I eat better. I want to work out, and I think that's just how things are for me, but I totally acknowledge that people are different. Some people thrive with the structure of knowing these are my macros, these are my calories, this is what I plan to eat in the week. I support you either way. Anyone who's tracking all the time, I'm just like forever impressed by, because I think it is a lot of commitment, honestly. Maybe it's ingrained into your lifestyle now, but I definitely think it is a hard commitment to get into from not doing that ever. I feel like this was really rambly, so I really apologize if I was like going in circles. Like I kind of mentioned, I have my own stance on what works for me, but I also really acknowledge that there's always going to be something that's better for somebody else. So take all of my opinions with a grain of salt and do what's best for you and your body. But I just do want to emphasize that you absolutely can see results, get to your goals without needing to track everything or be super strict on yourself. I think for me, I view fitness as a long-term life investment, and I see fitness and nutrition as something that is constantly changing with our lives. And so we are not going to be able to track everything for our whole lives when we have kids or when we have other obligations. And so I think realizing that fitting whatever you can into your lifestyle while balancing your lifestyle and still doing the things that you enjoy should be your top priority. And it's hard, but I think making sure that you're not restrictive or cutting things out for the sake of how your body looks is so important, because there's so much more to life than how your body looks or what you're eating. I think it's big on the experiences that you get from eating out with your friends, from going out with your friends if you like to drink, whether it's going to the movies and getting the buttered popcorn because it's just the experience. Like I think you have to be kind of able to balance everything out and not be too much of a stickler either way. Obviously, I'm not saying you can eat like trash all the time and get to where you want to be, but I do think that you can find a balanced way to do things. And a big thing for me is prioritizing my 3 main meals of the day, making sure that those are solid, and then the things around that I kind of just freestyle. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. But I'm gonna close out this video here, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.